Welcome to the Astro Psyche. This is your weekly astrology forecast for April 21st through the 27th. This week is about restructuring your ego, restructuring your sense of self. There's a lot of continued transformational energy this week as we continue to deepen into the Sun, Mars, Pluto T square. That's continuing to amplify, and we can think of it as sort of settling into this energy this week. I talked about it last week, of course, but we're continuing to move and settle into this aspect as it becomes more exact, and also as it becomes amplified and spotlit and energized by our new moon in Taurus this week. We also have Venus and Saturn working some of their magic in the sign of Pisces and continuing to move through that space in the zodiac. So, a lot of uh, deep and rich transformational energy continues into this week. My name is Shauna McGrath. I'm a depth psychotherapist and an astrologer, and I'm so honored to share the astrology of this week with you from a depth psychological perspective. So let's start with this T square of the Sun and Mars and Pluto. So for those of you that are able to watch the video and view the screen, I want to show to you what this looks like in the sky because sometimes that helps us to get a visual. So this is for the moment of the new moon in Taurus, this Sunday, the 27th at 12:31 p.m. Pacific time. We're going to set that aside for just a moment. We know that the new moon is happening, but we also know, regardless of that moon, that we have the sun up here in Taurus at 7 degrees of Taurus. The sun is squaring Pluto here at 3 degrees of Aquarius, and we know it's a square because they're making this angular relationship to each other. So, aspects, whenever I say conjunction or trine or square, opposition, sextile, those are all simply uh, a relationship that the planets have to one another based on their positions. So, where they are in the zodiac, they're going to be closer or farther away. And then they make these different, we could think of them as like geometrical relationships to one another. And in this case, it happens to be this square. And we can think of if we drew a line from the sun to the middle of the chart, and then from the middle of the chart to Pluto, it would create this like sort of square, kind of like a square corner. Anyways, I digress. Um, so we have the sun square Pluto, and then we also have the sun in Taurus square Mars here in Leo. And this creates a T square because Mars in Leo is also opposite Pluto in Aquarius. And so it creates this T shape in the chart. And so all of these planets are coming together, these three, in a way that's very dynamic and energizing because squares and oppositions are both very dynamic and energizing. And they tend to squares and oppositions in particular, we tend to call hard aspects, and that they are sort of, there's like a forcefulness behind them. They tend to symbolize when there is an energy, a combination of archetypal energy that is being presented to us in a way that often feels like we need to do something. There's an action, there's a confrontation, there is something that is emerging in our lives, whether that is emerging from the inside out or that is emerging via an external circumstance and is requiring us to do something. And so I'm really emphasizing this because I think that oftentimes when we hear T square or Pluto or Mars, we can often think, ooh, that sounds bad. I mean, even the nature of a hard aspect is that there is um, an implicit messaging that there is challenge there. And that, of course, challenge tends to be a part of this experience of a more dynamic and alive and activating aspect like this Sun, Mars, Pluto. And also, we can think of it as there is something that is emerging from within us. There is something that is being called forward, and that's going to be different for everyone based on what's happening in your life, your current mindset, your psyche, your natal chart, and then how this collective energy is connecting into your chart. Whether that's making transits to your natal placements, or let's say maybe you are a person that has Mars or Pluto in aspect to your natal planets. There's going to be this sort of like pinging a string instrument or a tuning fork. There's this resonance that gets activated, and this activation is that there is something inside of you that's being called forward that maybe you didn't realize was even there. And that can sometimes be, especially with Pluto, that can be something that has been uh, deep and unconscious and out of your awareness for some time now. So, okay, I've been like very high, like broad level and philosophical. So we're gonna get more specific now. But I want you to be thinking about that there's something that's being called forward from you with all of this. So um, the sun is a symbol of our ego, our identity, that psychological structure that we orient around. It has a very anchoring influence, and we are not just the sun, but the sun is a very important part of our psyche. It is our ego identity and our consciousness, the things that we know, the things that we identify with at a conscious level. Sun is also very connected to our experience of what masculinity means to us, both personally and then collectively, culturally, in those different kinds of contexts. The sun is also very connected to our vitality, our essence, our inner energy. Mars is connected to our initiation to act, to do. It's that more physical sense of the vitality. Mars is also very connected to boundaries, saying no, protection, and being a guardian or an advocate. So it's that part of us that instinctually wants to protect or defend or stand up for ourselves or for others. Um, Mars is also connected to our experience of what masculinity means to us, and that how we maybe experience masculinity in our current patriarchal focused culture as more of a yang active kind of energy. And so Mars holds those qualities. And then Pluto is a symbol of the deep. Pluto is a symbol of the things and qualities that are intense and often taboo, or often things that are more private, or can be private and vulnerable, sometimes shameful. Doesn't have to be, but Pluto definitely rules over these qualities of shame. And Pluto tends to be an intensifier. It intensifies and amplifies and energizes and deepens whatever it is aspecting. And so in this case, and so also Pluto is also about ruthless authenticity. It is about moving inward and deep, and about um, clearing away and composting anything that is not absolutely necessary, anything that is not absolutely within the integrity. Like, we can think of Pluto as like the so one of the symbols of Pluto is the volcano or the lava, and that we can think of as Pluto goes deeper than Saturn. Its roots go even deeper. So it goes into, we could say, not just your patterns of behavior and your genetic, more immediate family ancestry, but Pluto also goes into our our inherited patterns over many generations, over like the lifetime of humanity. Pluto is very deep and rich in this way. And so when we have this combination coming together, especially in this dynamic way, this T square, it's continuing what we began last week, where there is a further clarifying and amplifying of patterns around your sense of power, agency, your autonomy to act, patterns and themes around control, and also the deep healing that can unfold when we bring our awareness, our consciousness, the sun, and our ability to act to gain a sense of momentum, Mars, to these particular issues. Pluto is also very connected with extrasensory perceptions because it is connected to the unconscious, that which is um, marginalized or rejected. This goes along with being the taboo. And so Pluto also connects us with the ability to um, become more aware of the unconscious, to be more sensitized to it. And so I think this week there's also this sense of like being able to connect in with um, feeling states that like maybe you have feelings that come up this week or that have been coming up where it's like, oh, like I feel this feeling and I'm not quite sure where this is coming from. And sometimes that is, um, sometimes when this happens, this can be um, feelings that are rooted in like maybe even a pre-verbal experience, maybe an experience that we had before we had the ability to speak and to name things. It could also be that maybe you're experiencing feelings via exposure to a situation or to a person, and there's this kind of like taking in the energy. Pluto can sort of help us to connect with collective unconscious experiences as well. Um, and so when we have the combo of Sun Pluto itself, if we're looking at just those two together, Pluto is really about restructuring and rebuilding and rebirthing. So there is a restructuring, rebirthing of the ego identity, the sense of self. Now, if you were to have this transit to your natal chart, transiting Pluto to your natal sun, this would be a very long term, deep, intense process. It would be many years that there would be this. This restructuring your sense of self, and that would take because that is a process that takes time in the lifetime. That would be something that's a little more slow and simmering. But for us collectively, we're experiencing this more quickly because it is transit in the sky. So, so for you, I don't know, but there's something here that is coming up around your ego, your sense of self, identity. I could even say like relationship to masculinity and what that means to you, or it could be more literal. It could be restructuring your relationship to masculine identifying people in general. Um, and I think we can also so think of Pluto as helping us to compost what is false for us, what is no longer what we identify with, no longer composting what is a false identity is very Sun Pluto. And so, of course, folks that have this natally, they're constantly transforming and composting their sense of ego, self, and identity. For all of us, we get to do that these few weeks here. Mars opposite Pluto, so this combo of just Mars and Pluto together. This is really about empowering and deepening your sense of righteous anger, your ability to say no, your ability to protect, to defend yourself or for others, to be an advocate. Of course, the shadow side, or the like when things get kind of flattened or distorted, or we don't have um, the resources to be able to process, like things are happening too fast. With these kinds of transits, it correlates to experiences where maybe we do become afraid, we go into survival mode, And then there is a compulsion, Pluto, a compulsion to try to control a situation or to try to control others. And this can be tricky because sometimes it's more like clear cut where you're like, oh yeah, I can see how, this person is trying to control someone. It's more overt. But sometimes it can be more subtle where um, we try to uh, modify our own behavior in order to get a response from someone else that we want. So we say, for example, I would say like this combo could be um, especially if we have a discomfort with Mars themes of being direct, we could say, oh, yeah, that's fine. Like, I don't mind, going to this place when really you hate that place, or maybe you just don't like that place. And then you get there and you're like wishing that the other person would have picked up on your cue, that you like said it in a way where you're like, yeah, that's fine, but you weren't like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And they should have known by your cue, like this subtle indirectness, and then you're like upset and angry, or maybe you just feel annoyed. Maybe you just simply feel annoyed and you don't know why you feel annoyed. This is all um, Pluto, Mars, Sun, Pluto themes. So I want you this week to really be paying attention to how you're feeling, and if you start to feel particularly like activated, agitated, annoyed, angry, sad, like anything that feels like a strong emotion, I want you to notice what you've been doing, what you've been thinking, like what is sort of like the lead up to this experience and what may be happening there. Okay. So we're going to talk now about the this new moon, and I think this is so much about um, again like this restructuring and thinking what's being pulled forward from you, because this new moon is coming into this T square aspect, and the moon is connected to a lot of different things, like many of the planets, right? There's such a layered potential of symbolism. So the moon is connected to the physical body, the cycles of creation, how a plant has a seed that's dropped into the ground, and then it starts to sprout, and then it grows, and then it flowers, and then it drops seeds, and then there's this whole, and then it decays, and then there's this whole entire life cycle. And sometimes we need to prune things back, sometimes we need to compost, sometimes we need to fertilize. The moon shows that there is this constant cycle, this constant change. It moves so quick through the zodiac. It's this very fluid, ever changing and shape shifting experience that is all oriented around the growth, birth, death, rebirth process. And so it represents that inner process in us, where there is always this process um, of growth, of expansion, of release, of decay, and then new growth comes from the ashes of the decay. And so the moon is so connected to this material natural world experience. Um, it has qualities in common with Saturn in this way, where Saturn is very connected to the material world and our finite experience. The moon is very connected to this natural world rhythm. And so we could think of the moon, especially the lunations, the new moon, the full moon, the first quarter, and the last quarter, as like these exclamation points or these markers of a threshold where something important is happening. And based on this moment, there is uh, there is a spreading out. There is like a web of possibility that can move outward from this moment. And so this moment is the new moon in Taurus. It's exact at 7 degrees of Taurus on April 27th at 12:31 p.m. Pacific time. And so if you're able to see the video with me, I'm going to go backward a couple days to the beginning of the week. And so we see the beginning of the week, we start with the moon in Aquarius, not too far away from Pluto. So the moon is sort of beginning with Pluto. We had our last quarter square of the moon actually last week in Aquarius. And so the moon, we can think of the moon as sort of like gathering Pluto. It's like, hey, Pluto, you have something that you want to create, that you want to bring into manifestation. And so then the moon is moving through the zodiac from Aquarius to Pisces and then to Aries, and then it we can think of it as moving through a threshold when it gets to Taurus because the sun is there. And so the moon meets the sun and it's like, hey, I have this gift from Pluto for you. And then Mars is also like, yeah, I'm also here and I want to be involved in this situation as well. And so there's sort of this like channeling of Mars, Sun, Pluto that's like able to move into the world, move into your life, whether that is like into your external life, your lived experience at a more literal level, or something that is interpsychic, that is inside of your psyche, that is moving out, that I think in its high, like I don't want to say its highest, I'm not a fan of that hierarchical way of thinking, though that is the way that we're trained to think. In its most life-giving form for you, this is a theme of planting seeds for your empowerment, for your sense of agency, and and um, strengthening your ability to stand up and to say, yes, this is who I am, this is how I feel, and to be clear and direct, whether that is with your voice or your actions or just within your own sense of self, within your own, like this clarity within your own self. And of course, Taurus is so much about, actually, I could say also too, like this is a very fixed um, energy this week. So this correlates to a time where we are stabilizing. Taurus, Leo, Aquarius, and then of course also Scorpio. These are all fixed signs. And so fixed signs are a symbol of rooting in and developing and stabilizing what we have been working on. So there is this call to stabilize. And so I also want to point out to we're going to talk now, shift gears a little bit here, because this is also moving into the sense of um, empowerment and integrity. The Venus, Saturn, and North Node in Pisces. So, um, Venus has been in Pisces with Saturn and with the North Node for quite some time. Venus moved into Pisces in January 2025, and it's been there for a long time because it was retrograde. So we're still like working this energy as well. So it's very interesting. Sometimes this happens where we get sort of uh, a long-term immersion with a particular planet in a place or planets coming together in a particular way. And so, of course, in this case, this is very much Venus Saturn. So Venus is relationships, social situations, beauty, aesthetics, sensuality, sexuality, um, that archetypal quality of feeling called towards something, or not, or like an aversion to something even. Um, Venus is also a symbol of our values and what is important to us, what like what really invokes something in us. And it's also a symbol of pleasure and enjoyment and all of those things. Saturn is this symbol of structure, commitment, devotion, long term situations. Saturn is also about being specific and being clear. And Saturn is also a symbol of this principle of hmm, Many different thoughts coming to my brain. Okay, I'm going to sort through them with you. Saturn is about supply and demand. It's about the results of actions, and not the results of actions in like a punishing way, but that like when we do something, there is a consequence to that thing, whatever it is. And sometimes we like the consequence, sometimes we don't. But Saturn is like, there are always results of your actions. And depending on how Saturn is configured, that tells us sort of where in particular there's a higher volume of results, where there's like more, we can think of results as like feedback. Now, when we have Venus and Saturn together, this is really emphasizing our awareness of relational agreements, of boundaries and non-negotiables in relationships. It's also a simple symbol of commitment and recommitment in relationships. I think Venus Saturn has this very clarifying energy around relationships. It because Saturn is about focusing our energy. It can often be a symbol of taking on more responsibility, but oftentimes this is really just another way of saying taking on more commitment, and devoting yourself to someone or something. And so when we have Venus here, this is really evaluating your commitments, your devotions, and I think that it can also, in a more inner level, be about evaluating your values, how you experience beauty and love and femininity. It can also be um, working through relational commitments, particularly to feminine, presenting feminine oriented people. Again, it can also be this very internal experience of like, what does that even mean to you? What does femininity even mean to you? And um, how are you using your very precious and limited time and energy in relationship? And how are you using your precious, limited time and energy towards joy, beauty, your creative process? That's also very Venus. I think we can think of Saturn as bringing Venus into reality in the way that the moon has this like bringing things into the creative, the realm of creation. Venus Saturn is like, okay, how can I make this beautiful thing real? And it can also be a reality check as well, where it's like, oh, this is actually what's happening here. And that can sometimes feel sort of like, ooh, like, disappointing, but it can also feel very it can also be like really moving in and towards what is beautiful and what you love and what is a yes for you. Now, the other component of this is that Venus and Saturn are also this week conjuncting the North Node, and they've been there. Venus went over the North Node, and now it's coming back over post retrograde, and um, this, of course, means that Venus and Saturn are opposite the South Node. So there's this um, portal polarity. The nodes, North Node and South Node, we can think of these portals of possibility where there can be a rapid opening and a rapid new energy coming in, seeing new possibilities, and then also a rapid processing and letting go and tying up loose ends. So this is also something that's happening. And then next week, Venus will move into Aries, so it will be this sense of completion in the way that maybe we had this sense of completion in the last couple of weeks when Mars changed signs after its retrograde. So I think this, like Venus Saturn, it is in the sign of Pisces, so there's this very much like swimming in what you want, swimming in what's important to you, and feeling your way through that possibility and um, what you want to commit yourself to even more deeply than maybe you have. Okay, so take a sip of coffee. And as always, I want you to be thinking about what's coming up for you as I'm saying these things because your psyche is speaking to you through what I'm saying. So there might be something that's coming up for you that like maybe even isn't really related to what I'm saying, maybe necessarily, but there's something that might be coming through. And so I would get, very curious about what is up with that, what that may mean for you. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about the goddess asteroid aspects that are happening this week, and then we'll go to the tarot. So, um, we have this Venus Saturn in Pisces that I talked about. This is making a trine to the asteroid Juno. And the asteroid Juno, from Greek mythology, is the queen of Olympia. Juno is this protector, especially around committed relationships, protector of women or feminine people, protector of childbirth. And so Juno has this quality to it that is about taking up space and being this advocate and this influence, and especially in a way where it is protecting whatever it is that you are committed to and whatever you are creating. And it's really this place of power and influence and being a good steward of the people that you are responsible for. So when we have Venus Saturn making this aspect, and it's a trine, so it's a very soft, subtle aspect. Trines are things um, that we can draw upon as resources if we wish to. They can be helpful, helpful guides, so to speak. So there's this theme here around assistance and protection when you assume a position, either an inner or outer position of leadership or autonomy. When I was thinking about this aspect, I was like really imagining you like um, sort of having this inner image of you, like imagining that you're sitting on this throne and you're like, yes, I am worthy, I am valuable, my nature of just being a human being in this world is that I deserve to be happy and to have beautiful things of integrity. Venus Saturn, I deserve to have people who respect me and honor me. Venus Saturn, I deserve to have clarity in my relationships. Venus Saturn. Um, there's this sort of, I think, like rigor almost in relationships with Venus Saturn. It's a very solid, stable energy, though, of course, it is in Pisces, so it also has this enchanting quality to it, but there is this solidity to Venus Saturn. And so it's like when Juno comes in here, it's like, yes, like this is for you. That is something that you are worthy of, and that when you have this inner claiming of that experience, that is protective for you, that does something for you. Now, the other asteroid goddess aspect that we have involves Pallas Athena. And Pallas Athena is an interesting Greek goddess, actually. She is the goddess of strategic warriorship, strategic battle, strategic confrontation. Um, and she is also the goddess of arts and creativity, particularly crafts and things that we do with our hands. So there's this very like crafty, strategic. It's almost like we could think of Pallas Athena, I think, as like Mercury and Mars, sort of if they had a baby, maybe it would be Pallas Athena. So Pallas Athena in Aquarius is making this harmonious, easeful trine to Jupiter in Gemini. And so this, I think, is a symbol. Again, it's like this option, that this thing that you can draw upon. It's this um, that your strategicness, Pallas Athena, opens up more options and possibilities for you, Jupiter. So there's this thing around being like planning, being strategic. I don't know that it necessarily has to be planning in a way that we think of, but it's like if you are like looking at what you want the end result to be And how are you going to get there? That's going to open up your mind. And it's more, I think this aspect is more about allowing yourself to be analytically creative, to feel into the sense of possibility. And that feels really good, especially when we have Venus Saturn, which can be a sort of more of a contraction kind of energy. Especially also the Sun-Mars-Pluto can also have this sort of like intense energy, like when a diamond is being created. There's so much pressure there. And so I think we can remember that we have Pallas Athena and Jupiter working together to in these air signs of Aquarius and Gemini to bring more lightness and ideas. If we're like, okay, like what's happening here? How can I be strategic? How can I think about what is actually happening or what I want here? And that brings this sense of optimism into the equation even. Okay, so I have 3 reflection questions for you. And of course, as always, so curious to hear what's coming up for you as we're talking about this astrology. And then I'll pull some tarot cards. So, reflection question number 1. What are the qualities that are being called forward from within you? So I think I'm thinking of this question particularly if there is a challenging situation for you now, or even if something you're trying to figure out what's being called forward from you now. Reflection question number 2. What can you do this week to hold space for your feelings and to take care of yourself? What can you do to hold space for your feelings and take care of yourself? My dog Leo is coming into the room to join us. Okay, and reflection question number 3. How are your needs, wishes, desires, or preferences in relationships being clarified right now? And I think this is really important because it's it's not always essential that that is communicated, but I think right now, this week, there's this inner clarification, this being more honest with yourself about what your needs, wishes, desires, or preferences actually are. This is very Venus Saturn, and this I think is also very Sun Mars Pluto. There's a lot here around being more honest with yourself, and not that you've been dishonest with yourself, but that there's more there's more of you that's coming forward, and we want to create space for that to emerge. Okay, so I'm gonna shuffle my tarot deck here. I'm using the Tarot of Spells and Potions, one of my favorite decks. And I invite you to get into a state where you can feel comfortable and relax and just uh, let yourself exist. If it's possible, you may want to either close your eyes or to focus on something in front of you that feels soothing. Imagine yourself contained within this beautiful bubble of light. This light can be clear, or it can be any color that feels protective for you right now. And as you're here in this protective bubble of light, the light is moving through you and around you. This is also a lovely time to request the presence of your spiritual guidance team, ancestors, whoever or whatever you have a relationship with that is a protective, benevolent, guiding presence for you. Ask that they are here with you now to protect you, to help you, and to communicate with you in a way that you can easily understand right now. Okay. And so I'm pulling three cards today, as always. Um, you may want to pick a number between 1 and 3 to have that card be special to you. Okay. So, first card is the Ace of Pentacles. Whoops. Ace of Pentacles, which um, feels very new moon and Taurus to me. um, Aces are the beginnings. They are actually, the more that I'm just thinking in this moment about aces and how it's sort of like it's not even here yet. It's like the uncreated potential. Or maybe it's like the potential that's like just leaving that void, that open void of uncreated potential. And it's like coming down the chute, so to speak. And it's not even really here yet. There's such an open possibility with it. I did pull this card reversed. And so that tells me, oh, and in this image, there's an image of what looks like a young person with a very cute purple dress and sneakers and pink hair. And they're like reaching up towards the sky. And up in the sky, there's this hand with very long, dark fingernails. And that hand is like dropping this little pentacle down towards the person. And oh, the person actually has cute little like not pigtails, but like space bun hair. And I pulled this reversed. So we always think of the ace. Usually, aces, there's like a hand that's offering something. It's sort of like this something is being presented almost as if it's from thin air. And we can think of that as that presenting as like this uncreated potential. So, with this card in particular, the person, if I reverse it, the image, the person is up top and they're reaching down towards the ground. And then the hand is sort of pushing this pentacle up. And so this means a couple of different things to me for you. It could mean that whatever it is that is emerging is coming from deep within, it's coming from the earth, it's coming from uh, the deeper inner resources of your being. Whatever is emerging for you at this time may feel um, very unknown, very rich, very old. Um, it might feel like it's something that has been sort of simmering there for a long time. Um, it could also mean that it's extra mysterious, whatever it is that is beginning here for you. The like, and when I say that, I'm taking the reversal as I'm taking the reversal as the not knowing. Like, we don't know yet what it is. It's very unclear. And frankly, this makes sense because I'm recording this essentially a week ahead, and the new moon is on Sunday at the end of the week. So there's many things that are going to happen before then. Um, Regardless, Ace of Pentacles is this planting of a seed, this new beginning. And gosh, when I'm looking at this card, like I really feel this sense of you reaching for this, whatever it is that's coming forward for you. There's maybe like this longing or this feeling towards it or like wanting it. And it feels possibly um, Like maybe even just have this feeling that something new, and I think sometimes there can be this kind of like anticipation or like nervousness around it, and that's okay. That's allowed, you know. You get to feel any way that you want to feel about it. But there's definitely this latent potential of something coming forward. So we're going to look at the other cards and see what we see. I also do want to say about the Ace of Pentacles, I think it's interesting also that this person, I'm just noticing this now, they're next to like this, these sand castles. Like maybe they built some sand castles and now there's something more structurally sustainable that's coming in after the dreams have been created. Okay, second card. So this card is specific to this deck. It's like an extra. They have two extras in this deck. One is the strategy card, the other is the chaos card. This is the strategy card. And I pulled this upright. This card always kind of reminds me of strength a bit because of the person. So the person is in this really beautiful, flouncy, flowy, full yellow dress and this like wide brim, kind of almost like floppy yellow hat. And they have an infinity symbol above the top of their head. And they're kind of almost like balance walking on a sword and a wand. And then they have what looks like a magic wand in one of their hands, and then they have a pentacle. So actually, I'm going to revise what I just said. They sort of, there's sort of this combination of the magician and the strength card. And so strategy, actually, it's very interesting that we got this card because the strategy feels very Pallas Athena to me. This like being strategic. Um, with this card, and I'm going to read from the book for you because I like some of the little nuggets that the book from this deck gives. Uh, so the magician is about having all of the raw material and the tools that you need to create something, to um, draw something from the earth or from the sky to create it. There's all of that potential. And then the strength card is about channeling your inner strength, your inner resilience, and your emotional regulation in order to move through a challenging process. And so I feel like this card is particularly speaking to this process of moving through a creative process, moving through an initiatory process where you're like, okay, this is there's something very specific that's being called for you now, and there is a need to be strategic about where you're going and what you're doing. You are on a journey, you're on a path, and you're going somewhere in particular, and that is requiring particular tools from you, but you have access to all of those tools. And let's see. Okay, so strategy. um, the book says you have chosen a strategy and stick to it. Your choice is correct. Follow the rules and act according to the plan. Success awaits you. Add a little discipline. So now, of course, always when I say that, what comes up for you? Doesn't always mean that like that is like yes for you. Sometimes when we do readings, whether that's tarot or astrology or whatever, we have this like inner like, oh, that's not quite right. That is clarifying for you. So this like I'm saying that because this says follow the rules and act according to the plan. If inside of you just now you felt like, oh, I'm not quite settled on my plan, I actually want to change my plan, I encourage you to explore that because um, oracles are not just simply telling you what to do, they're also invoking this experience within you that can be clarifying. So they're giving you something to push against, so to speak, sometimes. Um, Okay, so yeah, so there's this thing around this card of like following the plan. And I think it's very interesting that we got this reversed pentacles at the beginning, because the reversed pentacles kind of feels like there is no plan. Is there a plan? I don't know. Or the plan is unclear, or you're kind of like, what is the plan? Like maybe there's a sense for it, but it's not quite clear. So it makes me wonder if that is what is being explored this week. Like there's this new beginning, and then what is the plan? And sort of walking your way forward one step at a time through that. Now, let's see. Final card here is the Eight of Cups. And in this image, it's a person in a coffee shop, what looks like a coffee shop to me, actually, or like a little cafe. They're sitting on a bench at a table. They have this like a steaming cup in front of them and a little cat next to them. So, this card is often about um, making choices and making decisions to accept something or to release something. Traditionally, this card is about leaving leaving something that isn't it. Like the 8 of cups, there's usually this walking away from something that has run its course, and it doesn't mean that you don't want to stay, but it means that you're like, you know what, this is not it, and this has worn out its welcome, or whatever this is. Like it's done, it's cooked, it's done, it's ready. We could say with the Pluto, it's ready to be composted. um Now, whenever I use this deck and I get this card, though, I feel like it's not always that clear cut. And of course, in life, things are not always clear cut in that way, because this person is sitting very contently at the table here. And so um, it makes me wonder if, so a couple different things come to my mind. It makes me wonder if there is something here about choosing, making a choice of whatever that one cup is for you and committing to that, or if it's possibly about maybe you're leaving a situation or you're leaving something behind. Again, like I want you to really be thinking about this, not just in your more literal physical life, but it can also be like um, releasing or leaving a way of being or a thought process. It can be more internal. Um, but maybe you're leaving something, but you're not doing an entire cutoff from it. You're still, like, she has this one cup here. So maybe you're still taking something from that experience with you. Um, and I think that really, I think whenever we go through an experience that, or something that's like very meaningful to us, even if there's pain in it, we take something away from it. And whether that is like character building or resilience or whatever it is, lessons, whatever it is, there might be something here that you're taking from with you from leaving an experience. And also, as I'm looking at this, just like looking at the cards all together and taking in the imagery, it's like, okay, there's something beginning. There's maybe like this planting or a journey that's starting, a journey where you need to be, not you need to be, you can do whatever you want, but where it's encouraged to remember your ability to be strategic, remember your resourcefulness, remember that you have the things that you need to do what you're going to do, to go where you're going to go, that you have those inside of you, and that you get to this place. You get somewhere where um, actually, maybe as you go on this journey, maybe there is a realization where you're like, oh, like, you know, I want to release or reprioritize. There's like, again, I'm kind of going back to this, like, there's a restructuring that's happening. And maybe it's this like process that you go through. And maybe that process is strategic, or maybe it's a journey or a path or an exploration. But there's something initially that is like a little bit ambiguous about it. And so you're encouraged to walk the path to explore that. All right, that is your forecast for this week. So lovely to share with you and to connect with you. I'm wishing you a week of ease and safety and enjoyment as much as possible. And I'll see you next week. Bye.